Hola, bienvenidos amigos. Hello and welcome friends. Steve here, Street Smart Travel. Welcome to another episode in the ongoing series of Feelgood Friday stories. Quick shout out before we get underway to say thanks and welcome to all the new subscribers. The channel is growing slowly but consistently. Thank you to everybody that signed up from the inception of the channel up until this video. I'm looking to grow the message of the channel about volunteering and serving others, traveling, early retirement, basically just living life on your own terms and enjoying yourself. The Feel Good Friday stories are the anchor for the first Saturday full-length video that I release every month. They restore my faith in humanity because I'm having these great experiences and meeting some really great and cool people along the way that constantly remind me, why did I get on the road in the first place? And why do I stay on the road after almost 3.5 years down here in South America? And this month, a story about a conversation with a cab driver. What started off as a very casual, normal, hey, where are you from? How you liking Colombia kind of conversation, shifted into a very in-depth conversation that outlined some of the scams and some of the things that do happen in Colombia, and mostly in big cities like Bogotá. And he gave me the local perspective as opposed to here's the government of Canada telling you you should be afraid and not go to this place. So a very different perspective, a very different experience, and a very enlightening and pretty hilarious conversation with this young man from Bogotá. Before I came to Colombia, probably 8 months ago, I went online to take a look. Okay, what's the current state of affairs there? I've heard a lot of different things. Everybody that I talked to was very positive about it. They loved it here. Oh, the people are so amazing. My time flew by. I really want to go back there. And then I went to the Government of Canada travel advisory site, and it was like a book, page after page after page of all the scams and all the bad things that could happen, and kidnappings and murders and narcos and paseo del millonario, the ride of the millionaire, Scopolamine, like just endless amounts of things that could go wrong should you go to Colombia. It's good to be aware of these things, but it's not going to stop me from going there. I brought up my YouTube channel at one point and said, I'm retired. I've been living in Ecuador for a few years, traveling down here in South America, volunteering and sharing videos about life on the road, volunteering, being retired, simple living, scams to be avoided, and things to be aware of when you're traveling through the developing world. I said, yeah, that's a really good idea because there's a lot of scams that go on here in Colombia. And I said, yeah, this kind of stuff just happens to tourists and gringos, right? And he set me straight on that one. He goes, no, man. All of the scams that you've heard about happen way more to Colombians than they do to tourists. And he was kind of laughing when he said it. It made perfect sense. Well, of course. If you're a scammer, you don't care if the person you're scamming is local or from somewhere else. You just care that they have money and you can separate them from it. That's it. So it was a very enlightening conversation. And again, we were laughing about some of the stuff, not people getting scammed, but just the fact that this happens to locals more than it happens to expats and tourists and travelers. That part I wasn't expecting. And that was an insight that I would not have gotten from the Government of Canada website or anywhere else, aside from talking to a local. That's where I get most of my intel from, on the ground. Not online, not, I watched this YouTube video or I read this thing on a government website. So if you're getting value out of the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and definitely share these videos with anybody you think might enjoy them. Locals don't always report that they've been scammed or robbed for a few reasons. One, probably nothing's going to be done about it. And two, because it's just embarrassing. If you've been taken in by one of these scams that you are well aware is going on around you every day, all the time, how could you fall for that scam? So they'll suck up the consequences and say, okay, next time I'll be more careful. But when these things happen to expats and tourists, they go immediately to social media. Oh my God, this horrible thing happened to me. And there's lots of videos you can find. Pick your social media platform. Oh, I got scammed by this in Colombia, by that in Colombia, by this. And most of the time it's in big cities, something like Bogotá, maybe Medellin, maybe Cartagena. And this led us into the most hilarious and insightful part of our conversation. I'll outline the scam and then get into our conversation. Scopolamine is also called devil's breath. It's a drug that is used to knock you out. So basically, people put it in your drink, they knock you out, usually when they are in your place, your apartment, your hotel room, your whatever. And when you wake up, you have no recollection of what happened, and all of your stuff is gone. The way it always happens, every time I've seen this scam, it always happens to guys, and it always involves two women approaching the guy. So they come up and start talking, oh, where are you from? How do you like Colombia? Hey, why don't we go back to your place? We can make some drinks, we'll make some food, see where the evening takes us. And his point, very well taken, by the way. This is when things started getting hilarious. I'm not laughing at people that have been victimized by this scam. I don't think that's funny at all. But the way that he presented it, he goes, look, if you're an average-looking guy, which by definition most guys are, where you live, does this happen to you? Like frequently, where not just one woman comes up and propositions you, two women come up and approach you and say, oh, hey, let's go back to your place. And I thought, yeah, exactly. Like, there's your first giant red flag. If he said, look, if you're some super hot guy and this happens to you all the time, okay, right? I get it. But if this doesn't happen to you in your day-to-day life back home, why would you think that this is a good idea when you come to Colombia? All of a sudden you're getting this attention, like, wow, these two women want to come back to my place. Hey, great. And I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's a scientific or psychological explanation. There's something that happens in a guy's brain when a woman propositions him or shows interest. Oh, hey, let's go to your place. But two women? Yeah, forget it. Like, guys have no defense against that on a good day. So the guys think of one thing and the women are thinking, all right, payday. And here's another schlub that we're going to go in and clean out. As we kept talking, he said, yeah, your Spanish is really good. And I said, well, it's okay. Like, considering I've been living in Ecuador for over 3 years, it should be passable at least. And then there's this thing that I've started doing where basically I imitate gringos trying to speak Spanish. Yo hablo español muy bien. And he was on the floor. Like, he was laughing out loud. He thought that was hysterical. So, yeah, sí, yo hablo español muy bien. So here's two guys that never met before, both from big cities, who decided that's it, we're getting out of big cities. And he figured that out. He was mid to late 20s, so he figured that out way before I did. And we bonded over just talking about life in Colombia and life as a guy and the scams that so many guys fall for, both locals and tourists. And it was a really enlightening and pretty hilarious conversation, even though we ended up talking about some pretty dark things. So, when I'm on the road and I'm talking about all these scams and different things, why have I managed to steer clear of all of them? How come I haven't been victimized so far in almost 3.5 years down here in South America? And I have not once felt unsafe anywhere. That's not to say there isn't danger around, because certainly there is. So anytime, especially when I'm in a bus terminal or a big city, anywhere, my SA, my situational awareness, is maxed out. I am paying attention to everyone and everything going on around me. You won't generally find me out walking around the city after dark. Not alone, anyways. If I'm with my hosts or some locals, I'll think about it. So it's not like there isn't danger. And this isn't fear porn. I'm not trying to say don't come to Colombia because it's too dangerous. Like, I've been here 2.5 months and I have met some of the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life. This cab driver was one of them. Just giving me the straight up story. Here's what life is like here and here's some things you need to be aware of. So it's a very different experience when you realize that there's issues on the ground, that the locals in a lot of cases are looking out for you. And if you start talking to them, like this guy, they'll open up and say, yeah, watch out for this scam and be careful about this and this other thing. It's not like everybody's out to get you. It's a very tiny, tiny portion of the population that has ill intents. But they are out there. Those travel advisories exist for a reason. I don't necessarily agree with the way they present the information or the scope, but they put it out there to protect people. So I take it into consideration before I go traveling in an area that I haven't been to before where there are potential dangers. But for the most part, people in Colombia, all my hosts and their friends and the communities that I've interacted with have been amazing. And this brings me to why this conversation mattered and why it was so important. It was really interesting to get his perspective. And there was no sugarcoating. He wasn't trying to dumb it down or make it tourist friendly. We basically just bonded over common experiences and over both being guys. And we could see and sympathize with guys that get caught in this Scopolamine scam. And if you have been victimized by these things, I'm not trying to make light of them. I'm just saying I get it. And here's why I don't fall into these scams. Because I have conversations with people like this guy that tell me, here's the scam, here's what to look out for. So some takeaways from this video. Lesson number 1, use your brain. If you're not getting propositioned by women in the place where you're from, why would you think that when you go to a different place, all of a sudden that's going to be different and they're going to show interest in you? They're not interested in you. They're interested in your money. What can they take from you? Lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, scammers are equal opportunists. They don't care if you're a local, if you're a tourist, a traveler, whatever. If you look like somebody that has money, you're on their radar. Don't be playing on your phone in public, ever. So just keep your valuables hidden, dress down, try to blend. Very simple. Lesson number 3. Guys like this taxista, this taxi driver, they're out there all the time. Good people, locals, that are looking out for you. They're a great resource. He gave me the inside scoop from a local perspective, from his perspective of a guy from a big city who's seen this stuff go on all the time, to pay it forward and say, yeah, you have a channel that talks about these things. Here's some other things you might want to let people know. Talking to a local and getting the inside scoop for me has always been the best way to get a bead and a read on what's going on the ground. What is the real situation? That information is invaluable, and I pay it forward in videos like these so other people can be aware that these things happen. And if you're thinking about traveling to somewhere in the developing world, or anywhere really, just keep these things in mind because they're applicable in different ways no matter where you're going. The Colombia that I continue to experience, and granted I've only been here 2.5 months, so it's not like it's a huge amount of time, but it is validating everything that the other volunteers and tourists that I've met have told me about Colombia. The people are amazing. And I would say that's been my experience across all of Latin America, Central and South America. Very friendly, warm, they're looking out for your best interests, they are interested in you, generally. When they ask you, how are you, there's not some, hey, what's going on, you don't expect a response. Like, they want to have a conversation. It's very different from what I've experienced in the West. And it's very humbling in a lot of ways. You realize, yeah, there's a lot of genuine people here. They get a lot of bad press, the country, not the people, because of the scams that exist. But again, those are carried out by a tiny fraction of the population. The vast majority of the people living in these places are hardworking, God-fearing, honest, salt-of-the-earth types. And once you start interacting with them, you start to learn about their life, and they tell you things about the culture you're not going to find any other way. That's gold. That's a big part of why I'm on the road and continue to be on the road. It's a fantastic experience. Highly recommend it to anybody that wants to take this on. Just be careful and be smart, street smart, if you're going to do it. Now, travel, for me, it's not about creating an Instagram reel or, hey, look at me, how great I am, I'm in this place, and wow, look at this great thing I get to do, or this awesome food I just ate. Who cares? That it's a great big world out there full of great people that are helpful, friendly, salt of the earth. I meet them all the time, all over the place. I've had amazing experiences here in the last 10 weeks. All my hosts have been amazing. Everybody that I've met to a person has been really helpful, friendly, the kind of people that I want to be around and I want to have in my life. These are the lessons that I take from being on the road, and these are the stories that I like sharing in Feelgood Friday stories. If you made it this far, Thanks for sticking around. Again, please like, comment, share. If you have any questions about this video, about scams, I am looking at starting an on-the-ground Wednesday series in a few weeks that will be dealing with scams and how to recognize them, how to avoid them, how to shut them down if you get sucked into them, and what your recourse is if you do end up getting scammed. So I've been in all of those situations. Thanks, as always, for stopping by. Happy trails. See you out on the road next Saturday.